Hello and welcome. This is video number 4 in a 13-part series about World War II. And in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about some of what was going on with this war in the Mediterranean region in North Africa and also in Eastern Europe. One thing about World War II, it was a global war. I know we've talked a lot about Germany. If you've been watching the videos, we've talked a lot about Germany up to this point. They were obviously an important player with World War II, but there were a number of different countries that were involved, including countries supporting Germany. And so that's part of what we'll see in today's video, is a little bit about what was going on in some of the other areas outside of just Central and Northern Europe. So with that, we'll get started. All right, so if you look at the slide, it says Mediterranean and Eastern Europe with World War II. Really, the context for what we're looking at today is to kind of think about where Germany was at about the time they were fighting against Great Britain, and especially when they gave up on trying to militarily defeat Great Britain. And keep in mind, their decision to basically give up on that, at least for a time, was in May of 1941. And one of the other big goals that Hitler had, that he would begin once he gave up on putting all his attention on Great Britain, was working towards a really important goal, and that was taking the Soviet Union. So before we talk about that specifically, just want to talk about some of the other areas where some of the fighting was going on, and also how that affected Germany. All right, so you can see the slide here. This is a focus on North Africa. North Africa was an important region, and North Africa and getting control of North Africa was an Axis powers campaign. And remember, the Axis powers included Germany, Italy, and Japan. And so with fighting in the North African region, that was going to be primarily Germany and Italy. Italy did start the North African campaign in September of 1940. Keep in mind, that was at the same time that Germany was going after Great Britain. So Italy was the primary Axis country that got involved with fighting in North Africa, at least initially. And the main target with the North African campaign was controlling Egypt, and then through that gaining control of the Suez Canal. The canal was key to being able to reach the oil that was found in the Middle East. And at the time, it was being controlled by Great Britain. So that was definitely going to give Great Britain and the Allied powers a real advantage, because one of the things that I think is always important to remember about warfare is access to and control of resources, vital resources such as oil for fuel. If your side can control that and keep it from the other side, that's going to go a long way towards your side being able to win the war. So gaining access to the oil fields of the Middle East was huge for both sides. Now, Italy, in the early phases of this North African campaign, would quickly gain approximately 60 miles of territory into Egypt. And at that point, both sides, Italy and Great Britain, as the primary country on the Allied side fighting in this region, would basically dig in and wait and kind of see where things would go. And strikes back, but all right, so on this next slide, so basically, after initially being pushed back by the Italians, Great Britain would strike back in December. Within a couple of months, the Italians had suffered a lot of defeats, and Great Britain ended up controlling hundreds of miles of territory across North Africa. So things were looking really good for Great Britain and the Allied side early into 1941. Now, Germany was forced, because of this, Germany was forced to divert some of their military forces, the Afrika Korps, which was a tank force, to try to give support to Italy. The new German tank force was led by General Erwin Rommel, and for the next year and a half, both sides would end up taking turns, gaining the advantage only to lose it again. And by June of 1942, Germany would have the advantage. And Great Britain and the Allies, at this point, appeared to have lost in the desert. And I think it's important to point out, it appeared at this time that it would be a loss in the desert. Now, that's all the more I want to say about the fighting in North Africa for now. I want to move to one other region that was going to be very important to Germany and the development of World War II, and that would be Southeastern Europe, or the war in the Balkans, as the slide up there shows it. Now, one of the long-term goals that Hitler had was invading the Soviet Union. And despite the fact that Germany and the Soviet Union had a non-aggression pact that said that they wouldn't attack each other for 10 years, Hitler definitely had interest in breaking that pact sooner rather than later. And a key step for Germany towards an invasion of the Soviet Union was gaining control of the Balkan countries of Southeastern Europe. And the reason that they would want to get control of the Balkan countries of Southeastern Europe would be to get locations for bases strategic to the invasion of the Soviet Union. And he also wanted to see what, if any, assistance Great Britain or other allied countries might provide to the countries in the Balkans if Germany put pressure on them. And so before Germany decided to push their way into the Balkans region, he gave countries in the area an opportunity to join the Axis powers, and I did that as quotes because those different countries within the Balkans region were experiencing threats and intimidation by Germany. So it wasn't like join or it's fine if you don't. And as a result, Bulgaria, Romania, and Hungary joined the Axis powers. And so I think it's important to point out it's hard to know exactly whether or how much support they might have actually had for Germany, and how much of that decision was made out of simply fear of what would happen if they resisted. Yugoslavia and Greece were countries who happened to be very pro-British that resisted and ended up being defeated by Germany really pretty easily. Yugoslavia ended up being defeated by Germany and gave up in 11 days. In Greece, it took 17 days to be defeated by Germany. And this was a big deal because once Germany had control of the Balkans region, either through people agreeing to partner with them to avoid a fight or people being defeated, Germany was now ready to go. And only time would tell what would come of an invasion of the Soviet Union by Germany. And that will be the subject of the next video in this series. So I hope you'll join me for that. Thanks for watching.